Welcome folks, this is a 3D printer introduction. I'm getting into 3D printing for the ramp up for the railgun project. I was considering building these parts using the machines I have in my garage, but it'd be very limited in the materials that I could use, and not only that, but a lot of these parts are very difficult to make with those and it would be very time consuming, and there'd be a lot of failed attempts before something came out right. And so hemming and hawing how to make the railgun parts, I decided it's probably a good time to invest in a 3D printer. The technology's come a long way. Now I'm familiar with 3D printers because we get stuff made at work, but usually other people do that work. We just request the parts. And so this is my first foray to actually 3D printing. What I chose the Dremel 3045 because the report said this is the best machine as far as just plopping it down on the table and starting to print. A lot of the other cheaper ones you have to do a lot of other work, add extra work, add other parts, get familiar with the use, yada, yada, yada. And time is the one thing I have very little of, and so something that is well rated as being working right out of the box, I chose this. Now you can see it's actually running. I just basically turned this thing on 15 minutes ago and just following the instructions to print a part it had in its library because I want to see, basically how good this material is, how good easy it is to use. It is pretty easy. Okay, now in my research for materials, I need a hard material and ABS seemed to be the material that would fit my needs the best according to what I read. I also bought some FLA because there may be some other parts that don't quite need the strength that ABS has. And ABS is more difficult to work with because it requires an enclosed printer with a heated work surface, and so that's why this Dremel comes ready for ABS. I mean, this is set up with the heated work surface and all the stuff, so this is a ABS ready printer, and that's the only other reason why I chose it. But it can also do other types. It can also do PLA, and there's a whole bunch of other types. And one of the online reviewers had good results. It was pretty much every kind of film he had in it. The only slight drawback of the Dremel is that they give you, it takes really small size rolls because Dremel has their own RFID system, which is nice because it allows the printer to identify what type of filament is in there, which makes it a little more foolproof. But the difference, the problem is the cost. Okay, these reels are 0.75 kilograms, where the cheaper reels you get from Amazon are 1 kilogram, and they cost 20 bucks. This is 3/4 of a kilogram, and they cost 30 bucks. So, but they have hacks online for being able to feed. What you basically do is you build yourself a printer roll and you feed it into, you cut a little hole in the side, you can feed it in and you can use any filament you want. So there's a lot of online hacks for making this machine use any kind of filament that's available, which is nice because there's other filaments. They have some really nice silk and gold and silver and even glow-in-the-dark filament. I have one of those here. Don't know why I bought it. I have a tendency to like glow-in-the-dark stuff, and I think we can be able to use it for some electromagnetic experiments later. Anyway, I've got it right now printing a widget that is in the Dremel memory, and I can lift the top to kind of show you it working. It's I chose a black filament because that came with it. And it's moving nice and fast. This little widget is going to take 32 minutes to finish. It's actually hypnotic to watch. So the next step in this part of the project is getting to know the Cad software, which I'm learning now. I'm using Fusion 360 to be able to design the parts of the railguns because Fusion 360 was recommended by, again, thank for the internet that I can go online and see what other people have done instead of having to try to figure this all out on my own. So anyway, this was purchased with Patreon funds as well as my own funds. There's a lot of things that were purchased for the railgun project, and we're going to have a video pretty much on each one of those. And I'll put a little clip at the end to show you what this final part looks like when it's done. While we're waiting for the 3D printer to finish, let's look at some of the other equipment that was purchased. Here we have a Siglent 3 output digital power supply, a Siglent 120 megahertz arbitrary function generator, a Regal mixed signal oscilloscope. This scope has 4 analog inputs and 16 digital inputs. So it's like a digital analyzer and a oscilloscope mixed in one. This is very convenient. This scope costs about $3,200. You may think that's a lot of money, but a Agilent or Keysight scope with the same capabilities costs about $15,000. There's another little power supply over here that can do 60 volts. It's a no-name brand, so we're going to see how that works out. It was inexpensive, so I threw it on the list. We have all kinds of neodymium magnets. Some of the magnets are for the railgun. Other magnets are for projects that are following on. One of the reasons why I'm doing this big purchase so if you haven't already seen the Atlas is Shrugging video, I believe that tensions in the world are going to rise and the ability to get stuff from China is going to dry up. And a lot of this stuff, as you notice, is made in China. And that's why it's much, much cheaper than the American ones. And I need this equipment to get this project done. And I can't afford the Agilent equipment or the American equipment. That I would have to settle for a less quality, or I'm sorry, not less quality, less capable American equipment and try to make do with that. Because of the new equipment, I purchased every kind of connector, adapter, jumper cables for the equipment, including some very nice BNC test leads. Because this equipment is networkable, where we want to network all this equipment together so that we can use a computer to pull the data off for analysis. And so I purchased some inexpensive switches. The thing about the equipment I've had in the past, that I have now, the present equipment is none of it's networkable. I purchased that equipment in the early 2000s, and equipment manufacturers were not making the equipment networkable. I mean, they had GPIB connectors on it, but GPIB is obsolete. And so networking was something that they put on as a much later thing that's really started in probably around 2010 is where equipment started becoming available consistently with Ethernet ports on it. Then I have a special type of Ethernet switch that supports power over Ethernet. What this does is 4 of these ports actually supply energy over the unused wires of the Ethernet cable so that you could power remote devices. And over here I have some Arduino devices. I have Arduino shields that can do power over Ethernet. Now what I also found, what I'm anxious to give a try to, is there's an Ethernet or a Arduino type thing made by DF Robot, which has a Arduino Mega and a power over Ethernet. I don't want to take it out of the bag, built onto one board, so I don't need an Arduino with a shield. Here this board has it all in one. It's a little more expensive, but if it works right, it's going to save a lot of time, putting this stuff together. So this might be the way to go. And then I've got some Arduino expansion boards, and of course I bought all different types of Arduino jumpers, both male and female, all different sizes, hundreds of each. They're only like $9 for a pack of 100, and of course these are all made in China, so these take a little time to make yourself, but I don't want to spend time doing that. So this is basically what's come so far. I'm using my kitchen countertop as a display to sort all this stuff out until I have a chance to assimilate it into the stock and to get it basically, and we're going to do some more videos on unboxing of these big pieces of equipment so you can see them. Hey, our 3D printer thing just finished. Now let's see what it looks like. Wow, look at that. Really impressive. Now what I'm going to do now is take this, I printed this little widget because I don't have any feel for how good this material is. This is ABS. So one of the things I'm going to do is take this piece out and evaluate it for what the strength of the material is, if it is sufficient for the railgun project. Anyway, that's all I have for now.